So Nathan, we've seen IMAX Enhanced name everywhere, but a lot of people are asking, what is IMAX Enhanced?
So IMAX Enhanced is it's actually a program that's a collection of things. So it is IMAX Enhanced certified devices, so displays such as projectors and televisions, as well as AV receivers. So it's these certified devices coupled with IMAX Enhanced content, and this content has actually been it's been mastered or remastered in some cases by IMAX using their proprietary technologies to ensure the best possible image for the consumer. So you take these IMAX Enhanced certified products, you take the IMAX Enhanced content, and you play it back through that system in a consumer's home, and they get the best possible picture, color, clarity, and sound that they can get in their home.
Now, many of our members and viewers will remember THX.
Sure.
And it sounds very much like the THX certified program, but you seem to be taking things a little bit further than that.
Indeed. So with IMAX Enhanced, there is a certification component, no doubt, right? And that really stems from IMAX wanting to ensure that the devices that are in market representing the IMAX experience are the best possible devices that they can be. So that's certification. But then it goes beyond that with that content that I mentioned, right? So that content is an absolutely key component. And at launch, it's content from Paramount, from Sony Pictures, as well as IMAX's proprietary documentaries that have been around for quite some time, and many of us know and love and grew up watching. So we have all of this content coming from these studios, 4K HDR being played back on IMAX Enhanced certified products. But it actually goes one step further. So in addition to the certification and the content and the playback of that content, there's also optimization that occurs at the time of playback. Okay, so an IMAX Enhanced AVR, for example, will enter a particular mode or an adjustment to its settings upon detection of that IMAX Enhanced content to ensure playback of it is optimized for that particular device. And that's rather unique, I think.
And how does it do this? Is it via metadata within the content?
So because this is not a new format, right, this is a version of the content, we've actually leveraged a variant of DTSX, our codec and decoder, and that variant of DTSX has a flag embedded that tells the AV receiver when it's receiving an IMAX Enhanced bitstream, of course.
And I take it that this is all fully backwards compatible, so if you don't have IMAX Enhanced equipment, you still get a decent experience from the content.
Indeed, and that's I think that's another critical component of the IMAX Enhanced program. So it's what we might call additive, right? So a consumer could go out and buy the IMAX Enhanced version of whatever film, let's say Venom, okay? They could buy that and they could play it back on whatever equipment they might have in the home already, and they will right out of the gate see an improvement in the performance of their system simply because the content has been mastered with the with attention to quality, removing noise, ensuring the best contrast, color, and clarity and such. So yes, absolutely. But I mentioned additive. So take that content, now add an IMAX Enhanced display. And that IMAX Enhanced display has been certified. It has a mode that, again, adjusts picture settings to ensure that it is optimized for the playback of that content. So then we could take it one step further. We could add the AV receiver and set up a complete 7.2.4 system in the home. And now we're really benefiting from the complete experience that IMAX Enhanced is capable of delivering.
Now, as video purists, a lot of our audience are, video is very, very important to them. Film is very, very important. You mentioned noise reduction. That sometimes sends up red flags to our audience because, what is it that you're removing from the picture, and does the filmmaker have any hand in that?
A great point. So 2 points I want to make about that. One is that noise reduction is not being done live. That's not taking place inside the display, okay, in the projector or the television. That noise reduction is occurring in post-production of the film, or in some cases, as I mentioned, remastering of a film. And the point that you made about whether or not that's a good or a bad thing, IMAX is working directly with the directors, the filmmakers, to ensure that whatever is the final result it's sanctioned by them and it supports their artistic intent. So there are cases of films where, let's say it's some film noir picture where we want a lot of grain. Well, that's fine. IMAX has no hand in saying, defining what that level of grain in the film might be. But there are other cases, and I think some great examples are documentaries, where there might be grain in the film that it needs to go away because a 4K HDR display is only going to illuminate that grain even further. So again, this is an effort that's essentially, think of it as the filmmaker utilizing the tools that IMAX can provide to deliver the best possible picture that supports their artistic intent.
You mentioned partners coming on board, software and hardware. Maybe you could quickly run through who those are at this moment in time.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So on the device side, there's a number of them. On the display side, we have Sony, of course, Sony Electronics with projectors and displays, and TCL. Then when we get into the AVR space, we see Sound United's brands, so Denon and Marantz, as well as Onkyo, Pioneer, and their brands Integra and Elite, as well as Arcam and Trinov. On the software side, I've mentioned already, I believe, that we will have 4K HDR or HDR10 content via 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray disc from studios Paramount, as well as Sony Pictures and IMAX's own documentaries. But on the delivery side, what I might not have mentioned already is the 4K HDR streaming that's coming as well. So in the United States, that is Fandango Now will be delivering the IMAX enhanced content, as well as Sony's Privilege 4K service. And then in Europe, we have Tencent and Rakuten for China and beyond.
Now, just to wrap up on this, you mentioned picture quality, you mentioned a preset within the TV. This is an area which our audience are really interested in. So is that to industry standards, or is this to IMAX's own standards?
It's all standards-based. It's existing standards-based. So when I talk about the optimized mode, for example, on the television, this is really about turning off some of the processing that is on by default in televisions today to ensure that it's, I think you referred to it earlier, it's a purist approach, right? So that playback is based on industry standards, HDR and HDR10 Plus in displays that, if I didn't mention already, in the United States anyway, will all be 65 inches and up.
And one final question, the display chain, which items within the display chain need to be IMAX enhanced? Does the Blu-ray player need to be? Is it just the AVR? Is it just the TV, or is it all of them?
Well, I guess what we would say is that at the end of the day, none of them really need to be. As I mentioned, we can start with the IMAX enhanced content and get a really an upgrade to what we would have otherwise, okay? But it's when we move into the displays, the televisions and the projectors that are IMAX enhanced, that we really start to see the benefits come to life. And then, of course, on the AVR side, there's no certification at this time for Blu-ray players. There's no certification for cabling. This is about the primary components, the source content, the display, and the AVR.
And finally, DTSX is being used in this. Now, it's a different flavour. Does this mean that the content needs to be remixed for IMAX Enhanced, or does it already exist?
Well, that's a little bit of a tricky question. So DTSX is indeed the codec and the decoder on the device side that's being employed to bring that IMAX signature sound into the home. It is a variant of DTSX. It is fully backward compatible. There will be no circumstances where an end user brings some IMAX enhanced content into their home and it doesn't, for whatever reason, play back. That won't take place. And we've taken steps to ensure that that's true and use DTSX as sort of the core codec behind it all. Okay. When it comes to how is it mixed, there is a unique IMAX audio mix that is experienced when a consumer goes to an IMAX cinema. It is a point source mix, typically 5.0, might be 6.0 or 12.0 for some of these Hollywood titles, the blockbusters that are coming to IMAX. In that case, it's actually interesting that there is no true remix that needs to occur, because a 12.0 mix has a really nice translation into a home 11.1 mix. And so in our case, DTSX will deliver a 12.0 mix into the home as an 11.1 presentation with a center height object to deliver that center height channel that IMAX has in their cinema.
It's fascinating stuff. I've even learned more today from the demos and so on. So thank you very much for your time. Good. And all the best for CES.
That's my pleasure, and thank you. Appreciate you coming.